Hey folks, this video is brought to you by RivianStories.com. Please join us there to get the latest Rivian news, pics, and videos from Rivian owners and fans. We also have t-shirts, hats, and gear guides for your next adventure. Also, if you want to listen to the full episode of today's video segment, just search for Rivian Stories in your favorite podcast app. Lastly, please do like and subscribe. It actually does make a huge difference and helps us keep creating content. All right, so this has been helpful, and we still haven't got to stinking ceramic coating, so we have to get there.
Sure.
Give us like the overview on that, what it is and how you describe it.
Yeah, so ceramic coating is just like the sealants and waxes that have come before it, except they perform better for longer. So what it does is it beads water, and it doesn't want stuff to stick to it. So your car is going to stay cleaner in between washes. It's going to be easier to wash. And what I tell everybody is, when you wash it, it looks like it's been freshly polished. So if you're doing a good job of using safe wash practices, you're not going to the automatic car wash with the spinning brushes that are adding swirls to your paint, then it's going to look like it was freshly polished. You're going to have that really deep gloss and shine, and it's going to be easier to maintain.
Okay.
That's one of the number one things that I've heard is, bugs, which is a big issue down here in the springtime. Bugs come off easier.
Yep.
Bird messes, all of the things, and much easier to keep clean, and does have hydrophobic properties, which I know that certain PPF films claim to have that too. And for me personally, I think what I might do is protect the front, the impact areas with PPF, and potentially do ceramic on the rest of the vehicle is kind of what I'm
Absolutely.
thinking.
And over the PPF too.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Matt, can you speak to the differences in PPFing paint in ceramic coating paint versus ceramic coating PPF?
Yeah. Honestly, the ceramic coating might last a tiny bit shorter time frame on PPF, but honestly, what I've seen, it's pretty comparable, and we state the same durability levels on PPF versus paint, and that's been my experience on my personal vehicles as well. And it seems to it performs the same way. It's doing the same thing for your PPF as it's doing for your paint. Keep making it easier to clean. It beads water, makes it shinier, and I really haven't noticed really very much difference in terms of durability.
Sorry, with PPF, there's even a warranty from Expel for 10 years, so you can expect a lifespan. If you take care of it for 10 years, what about ceramic coating? Like how long?
Ceramic coating, it depends on the manufacturer. Some of them offer a guarantee. With that guarantee, though, there are going to be more caveats. You're going to have your paint inspected periodically. You're going to have to commit to, with some companies, you're going to have to commit to coming in for an exterior detail, periodically. This is where, if you're really not like on the fence on like how well you're going to care for your car, that's where there are going to be less people, I guess, where ceramic coating makes sense than PPF. I think PPF can maybe stand up to a little bit more abuse versus if you really want your ceramic coating to perform and continue to perform for the long term, you have to keep it clean.
Good to know.
What will happen with a ceramic coating is it won't kind of like flake away. People think that, the ceramic coating is going to go away or it's going to flake off or deteriorate over time. That's not the case. Ceramic coatings are like 2 to 3 microns thick, if that. So if for example, a human hair is something like 90 microns. So it's incredibly thin layer that's permanently bonded to your paint. Mm-hmm. What happens though is the hydrophobics will break down over time because bonded contamination has built up on that surface. So you're going to start that bonded contamination is going to break the water tension, and so the performance that you're seeing in terms of water beading and that self-clean effect and the gloss essentially that you want that ceramic coating for is going to be degraded by bonded contamination. So that's why I say keeping it clean is the most important thing. And if you're not going to commit to that, the ceramic coating is not going to last for you, and you're going to have it redone or have a detail done.
Okay.
So
That's helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Skylar.
it is, and I'm probably more in the wash the car once a month camp. I mean, is that not enough for
You can make
ceramic?
that work. I make that work, but I'm also doing more intensive details when I go to do it because I've got access to all this stuff and all the training and all that. I will say it will take more effort. You're gonna have to do more of the like chemical decontamination. There are things that can help bring a coating back and help unclog them. What might be helpful if you're at the once a month, like if I had a customer that said I want to wash my car 12 times a year, I would encourage them to find maybe a self-serve or a touchless wash that you can do in between. So maybe do a hand wash once a month, and then in between you do like a touchless wash that has very good spot-free water. So that way, you have some in between step that's helping to keep the paint clean in between your washes.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing to consider too, at least that I've read, and my installer and the shop owner told me about too for our truck was, while ceramic does have water, hydrophobic properties, hard water will remain. Like that's a thing, So I mean, if you've got hard water, definitely give your vehicle a soft water rinse or a filtered water rinse because you'll end up with you'll end up with water spots.
Yeah. If you ever let hard water dry on the surface and it deposits those, they call them total dissolved solids. That they deposit those solids onto the paint. Usually that's calcium, all this other stuff that's dissolved in our water. And if you leave that little ring there, that ring of those contaminants, and leave it to do a couple of heat cycles in the sun, it will etch the paint or the PPF or whatever it's on there, and then if it's on paint, you can polish it off. If it's on PPF, then you've got to hope that you've got a good enough water spot remover. It hasn't etched bad enough that that it needs more intrusive things. That's one of the reasons I really like Modesta. That's our top of the line coating. Is that they have a topper that has carnauba and paraffins in it, so it has organics that can help deal with some of those those deposits that are in the water. It'll help deal with those, keep them from bonding to the paint and etching the surface. That is kind of typically what most people, it's like one of the biggest cons, I guess, to ceramic coatings. They bead water so well that if when that water sits there on the surface and dries, then you're left with the water spots. So that's why the regular washing is important, and being able to get those contaminants off the paint before they etch.
That's a lot.
It is. It is.
It makes it more difficult to choose. I can see why now you kind of said that maybe PPF would suit more people than ceramic. And what's interesting is kind of coming into this, I was like thinking, if I had to do one, maybe I'd just do the ceramic because it's just going to make cleaning easier. Get the bugs off easier. I've got 3 kids and 18 jobs like you, Carter or Matt, and I'm just like, when am I going to have the time to, do all this? So I just kind of want minimal maintenance, and ceramics almost sounds like more maintenance. And I'm like, okay, so if I don't do that, then I'm back to like wax. And so tell me about then wax. Like I'm going to put that just on the PPF. I got to, get it on there twice a year and continue on life that way.
If I guess if you aren't taking care of your ceramic coating, that means you're also not taking care of your paint. Your paint's still going to get water spots as well, bug bombs, things like that. It's just you can polish that off and put another wax on when you get down to it. Whereas if you have to go and remove water spots, or if you have to remove etchings from whatever it comes from, when you do that polishing process, you're removing the ceramic coating, so then you have to reapply it. That's why it's more important on the ceramic coating side. But those things that I discussed there, that's important for maintaining all paint, regardless. You can do, like you said, use like a sealant or a wax, and it just has to be reapplied periodically. So like a wax, you're looking at maybe a month. So you've got to do that 12 times a year.
That's
Sealants
not
you can
happening.
get a good 4 to 6 months out of.
Okay. Sealants 4 to 6 months, and then ceramics if I'm hand washing twice a month or
If you're hand washing twice a month, that's kind of you should get maximum durability out of it. So you're looking at and it depends on ceramic coating, but we have 3 options in our shop, for example, that go anywhere from 2 to 3 to like 7 to 10 years.
Oh wow!
So depending on which one you go with,
Yep.
you can get those kind of durability levels out of it.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I had in my mind like 3 years if you stay up to date with it and take care of it. But 7, that would be awesome. All right, Skylar, Jimmy, what are you guys thinking?
I've just got one more question, and it's kind of rolling back to prep for PPF. So, do you commonly do paint correction prior to installing PPF?
That is a very good question. The detailer in me, when I first started this, would say, yes, you absolutely want to make the paint absolutely perfect before you put PPF on. One thing that we've learned as we've gotten into this industry is that anything that you can get out with a polisher, you won't be able to see through PPF. And so we've taken cars, some people have brought in like a jet black Audi that he had us do a full car on. And he's very particular. You could tell he was OCD. He could see the swirls that were in it. And I've worked with it enough that I'm just confidently say, you can spend the money. You absolutely can. I can polish the paint to perfection before I do it. You can spend that extra $1,000, $1,500 with me to have me perfect the paint. But at the end of the day, when the PPF is on, you won't be able to tell the difference whether I did or not. Some people, that's not to say that I won't do it. Some customers will say, yes, I do want to spend that. Even though you've told me that, I just want, to know that my paint was perfectly pampered and taken care of. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I tell all my customers this, most of the time you don't need to correct under the paint unless you just want to. Just to know that it's perfect under there, even though you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, so I have a follow-up question that is kind of specific to Rivian. So a lot of the earlier paint jobs that we've seen coming out, there is a good amount of orange peel in there. I mean, does PPF take care of that? And if not, how, or maybe regardless, how would you take a look at potentially trying to fix that? Can most orange peel be fixed?
Yeah, for orange peel, really the only way that you can deal with that is to wet sand the car. And with any brand new car these days, my recommendation would always be just to leave it because OEMs have dialed in the absolute minimum amount of paint that they've got to put on to have acceptable results in terms of durability, and there's just not enough to work with. So like the wet sanding thing for me is for a fully repainted like custom job on something where they've the body shop has put on usually they put on probably double the amount of paint than what OEMs do. Or if you've got something that just isn't going to see the elements that much. So like a very, very high-end car, a lot of people will wet sand to perfection because it's just not going to see the daily driven abuse. It doesn't need all that clear coat like a daily driver would. That all said, if you're wrapping the whole truck, you're going to end up with the orange peel of the film. So the film has some peel to it. Nothing is perfectly flat, but it is usually better than your OEM paint. And so then that film, you'll end up with the texture of the film versus the paint that you're applying it over. But again, if you're only doing parts of the truck, you're only going to end up with that texture on the parts that you install the film on.
Yep. No, makes perfect sense. And I'll go on the record and say that orange peel doesn't really bother me that bad. I know that some people are very particular, but yeah, it's one of those things where in a lot of cases you have to be looking for it. A lot of people don't even know what it is.
Right.
So yeah,
exactly.
Doesn't bother
exactly
me.
Right.
You obviously don't know this, Matt, but we took delivery on the I don't know, you already forgot. We took delivery on the 5th of April.
April
And
April 4th.
April 4th, thank you. Sorry, April 4th, and literally on the 5th, that's where the 5th came into play. 5th, I met Kyle and our guide Sarah for breakfast on the morning of the 5th, and then immediately, like, we didn't even drive it that day. The day we took delivery, we didn't drive it at all. How quickly should people bring in their vehicle?
Yeah, so you should get it day one, as low miles as possible, because you can pick up chips. You can pick up chips just immediately in the first couple of miles, and you'll just be kicking yourself if you went and drove. So, I guess I'll say this: I've got lots of customers that order new vehicles, and so, like, I'm very sensitive to the fact that, especially in this day and age, a lot of times you're waiting months, if not longer. So you're chomping at the bit to get this thing. You finally get it, and you just want to drive it. If you can just hold off, and what I'll say is just get in contact. Do your research as soon as you put that order in. You're getting a new vehicle. Start your research on the shop and get on their books. So that's what I do with all my customers. If you have a tentative delivery date, we will plug in a slot for you. Because if that date gets pushed down the road, we can always pull people up in our schedule. People always like getting their PPF done sooner rather than later, and really we want to try and get you a slot as soon as it gets there, so you have minimum wait time, and also we're protecting the paint right off the rip, because there's nothing worse than you've got brand new paint and in the first 100 miles you pick up a chip, and then you've got to, you can touch it up, but you're still going to be able to see it, especially if you know where it is. You'll be able to find it under the PPF, and this is just not fun.
So Jimmy, you're super smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Let me just say this. Like, I think the other reason why I wanted to go PPF, other than the fact that this was the nicest and most expensive vehicle I've ever bought in my entire life, is one, I plan on keeping this thing for a while. I have no desire to sell it, and even if a newer, better, whatever version Rivian might come out with next comes out, that'll just end up being vehicle number 2. But, like, the cool thing to consider is, granted, I did pay a stupid amount of money to get this thing completely wrapped in stealth and ceramic coated, but after 10 years or 11 years, maybe it goes 11 or 12 years, and I've still got the truck, and the wrap is finally coming apart, that paint underneath is going to look like the day it was painted, because
Exactly.
the paint hasn't been touched by anything at that point,
Yep.
So there's definitely something to consider.
Experience with that too. I bought a 2004 Audi S4 when I first started my job at CAT, and it was a plus to me because it had a partial front paint protection film on it. And eventually, that was done with early films. It was, showing signs of age, so we eventually did remove it. But when I did, my car looked brand new. That front end, wasn't all chipped up and road rashed, and people could tell. I had people asking me, when I got my new car, people, that couldn't tell by the body style that it was 10 years old. But when it was 10 years old, I had a guy in the car. I was like, when'd you buy this? Like, 10 years ago.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
So Matt, we'll let you go here soon, but you mentioned people waiting a few months for a car and then they want to drive it. I pre-ordered November 2018 my Rivian.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking 3.5 years, and then I'm in Springfield. It's from Normal, so they have an option that I could pick it up from the factory, which is cool because you're at the factory and sometimes there's a little tour and you get to meet some more of the team, and who knows it. And I just thought that'd be a cool experience. But then I'm driving it 60 miles home. Mm-hmm. Then I got to get to Peoria. It's another 60 miles. Is it just a lost cause at that point? Or is it like, no, it's just we're going to touch up some stuff and you're going to know it's there, but then you still get to protect the rest of the 100,000 miles. Talk me through that.
Yeah, so a lot of people will go that route. It won't come straight to us from the dealership all the time. Mm-hmm. There are some precautions that you could take. So Expel sells what they call a track wrap. So they sell it in just these little strips that are yay long, and you can apply that yourself when you take delivery. It's going to look like garbage, when you put that on there. But at least it's protecting the paint until it gets to us, so you won't pick up any extra rock chips. Alternatively, if you can arrange it such that you just take it straight from Bloomington to our shop and we have it, scheduled that way, then you kind of minimize that risk as well. But I would say that there are a lot of customers that do that, and you might not pick up a chip. There are other things you can do if you make sure that on the highway you keep way more distance than you would normally, so that you're not catching rocks. That's where the big damage happens, is on the freeway. Especially around this time of year, you've got all the potholes that have been filled. All those potholes are getting ripped up, over time, and that, at least here in Peoria, they do a garbage job of tamping and sweeping up after themselves. So it just littered with gravel out there until it gets cleaned up, in the summer, and then staying away from big trucks. So you could just stay off the freeways entirely, take backcountry roads, and then keep your distance from anybody until you get paint protection film on.
I do know someone that actually had their Rivian delivered directly to the PPF shop.
Right.
We've had deliveries like that too. I mean, the ideal situation is it's delivered to us with the protective wrapping on it from the factory, and we just pull that off, detail it, put the film on. You've got absolute best paint that you can at that point.
So this would be a good time to plug Detail Peoria, just in general, and we'd love to do that maybe more in the future. But you guys are an hour away from the factory, so obviously, just anyone listening out there that is going to pick up from the factory, I just want to put that plug in. Like maybe you could drive it straight over to Peoria, which is about an hour away. Maybe you could even get it up on a truck to where you're not on the actual road, and you're just getting it pulled behind. Do you guys do transports? Matt,
we actually do. The owner, Scott and Sue, they have an enclosed trailer, which they've done a couple pickups so far this year, so we could arrange that. Bloomington's a little bit of a drive, so there will be a charge there for that transport, but then it's enclosed and brought right to us. Yep,
I asked that because I got to speak to Scott on the phone real quick, and he mentioned that he had that ability. Because I was like, man, I'd love to kind of get you guys' name out there, and who knows, maybe we could, as far as like the radius you guys pull from, maybe it could work. Yeah, but that's something to think about. Oh man, how horrible would that be, Jimmy? Come on, Skylar, me showing up at the factory and then just waving goodbye as it gets pulled off on the trailer.
Worth it, I'm telling you, worth it. The peace of mind knowing that your baby is protected.
I mean, that's what it comes down to, is personality. Like, the peace of mind. Are you the type of guy or gal that will have peace of mind? Are you the type of person who's like, I wonder how many rock dings I have in my Tahoe, and it's like 4,000, and I haven't noticed a single one yet. Like, I do get back to the personality behind, the owner being a big factor.
Think about Julie's purse hitting the door. Think about Julie's rings when she's reaching the door handle. The kids riding their bikes or walking their bikes by the truck. There's so many other variables other than rock chips when you're doing a full wrap to consider. That little bit of extra protection across the entire vehicle, or if you just decide to do the front, whatever. There's just a lot of people in this world that are way less considerate than everybody else, and you could probably cut this out because people in general, I'll just stop.
Well, I mean, you are right there as far as a full wrap. Like, we have a 3-car garage, but in one of it's like our, mower, and then we have 2 cars, and our house is Grand Central. I mean, there's got to be a million times per summer where some kid is riding a bike in between our 2 cars, and right down the, Jimmy's like cringing. Up to this point, my life has been like, it's a car, and I'm raising kids, not cars. It's a personality thing, but,
right.
Will I feel different when that's my brand new Rivian? Yeah, I'm sure I will. It won't be like, because I've gotten dents in my car from balls and all kinds of stuff, and I'm just like, again, I'm raising kids, not cars. That's just my personal kind of philosophy in life, that is things, and things are things. And so
Right.
It's going to be a tough one for me.
But
Well,
things.
like-
I mean, this is your first brand new car ever,
Ever. Yeah.
and that goes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm built different just because one, we don't have kids.
Yeah.
And as you saw, my 2017 Tesla Model S with almost 80,000 miles looks brand new for the most part, minus the rock chips in the front because we bought it. We bought it used.
Here's the deal. I understand like protecting the new investment, although investments increase in value, and granted, because of the supply of and demand of current Rivians, it might actually increase in value like a new car never does, but we've seen that. But long term, 10 years from now, if I have pristine paint versus, paint that I've just taken care of normally, it's not like I'm going to like all of a sudden have a car that's appreciated so much more than not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I will say is you'll be at the top of the market though too. If your car shows like it's new when you're going to sell it,
Okay.
that has a big effect. I had one of the guys that I helped build this business with, sold just a beat up old Civic.
Okay.
But he sold it for like $1,000 or $2,000 over market when he sold it because the paint was polished to perfection. 20-year-old car, but the paint looked brand new, like a detailer had it.
Yeah.
And I saw similar things with my Audi when I sold it. It was the paint just looked fantastic, and that has you can command a higher market value. You can be at the top of the market there.
Yeah, and I have actually done numbers on that, like how much, and I've heard that kind of, it's like you can probably get about $1,000 or $2,000 more in perfect condition. So it's less than what you put into it, but over time, so it is. I think for me, it's going to be what kind of balance can I strike? We all need to get deals from Detail Peoria. That's what we need.
And I'll just defer to Scott for that one. So. Sounds like you got it.
Skylar, Jimmy, do you have anything else? And then Matt, is there anything that we haven't asked that we should?
There are probably a few specific things that maybe some customers would think of to ask that others wouldn't, but I think we've covered a fair bit of it. The products are there to help keep your car looking as new as possible for as long as possible, and we've talked about the pros and cons of each. It can be expensive, but it's long term. The idea is long-term protection versus, washing and waxing your car constantly. The alternative, if you want your car to look as shiny as it will, for as long as it will, is to come in for $100 to $200 to $300 service every 6 months or every year. So that's the other financial side of it, is maybe you need less of the detail shop input over the life of the car to keep it looking its best. So
Good point.
But yeah, no, I think we hit quite a bit of the stuff. But I got out everything that I wanted to say.
I didn't expect to go for an hour.
Yeah, we did a lot. I knew we could do it, guys.
Actually, I do have one more actually.
Sure.
And it's I know for us in particular, with the stealth wrap or any type of matte wrap from any of the companies, you got to be careful that you're not using things that actually shine up the wrap. So just definitely follow the instructions, or Google-ize the instructions as far as looking for what to clean your vehicle with, because even soaps leave like a glossy finish. So there's actually soaps for matte wraps. There's quick detailers for matte wraps. Something to keep in mind.
Absolutely great point. Because if you do get some of those gloss enhancers, not only will it create that little sheen, but it can get blotchy, and that's the really thing that you want to get away from. And you brought up the perfect points there. And I would say this with all ceramic coatings too. You want to avoid soaps with a lot of them have gloss enhancers, because those companies want their product to make your car look as shiny as it can. So you use them with wires, with a gloss enhancer in it, and then your car looks better, and then you buy that product again. But when you get into these things, that's adding something on top of the protection that you already have, and then that fantastic point with a matte finish, that is absolutely something that you don't want.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, we'll end it like this. If you have any other questions, we've covered them all. But if there's one more that we've missed, reach out to Matt or just the team. Go to detailpeoria.com. And there's other good resources out there. Everything's on YouTube, but none better than Matt. Matt, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Hopefully I'll meet you sometime in person soon. That's a Rivian word we'll educate you on later. It's an inside joke, but 3.5 years soon, right? You get it?
Almost there.
But yeah, we do thank you for all your time. You've been a great sport. You've given us a ton. And so thanks.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks a lot,
Thanks for
Matt.
having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it, buddy.
You bet.
All right, folks, that's it for this one. Again, catch the entire episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Until the next video, we'll be hanging out at rivianstories.com, so we hope to see you there.